Hello, and well, good afternoon. It's not morning anymore by me, but hello, everyone. And today's topic, which is something that I've wanted to talk about already since last week or 2 weeks ago, is the color pink, an open heart, and tragedy, rough emotions. Um, there's different terms we could call it, but we're going to get into that in a minute. First of all, I wanted to say good morning, good afternoon, and hope you're all having a lovely beginning to your week. It has been a typical winter morning here, starting out with clouds and the sun just slightly peeking through, and a great contrast in colors, which I love about wintertime. There's very stark contrast between the bright, bright sun and then the darker color of the background of the mountains and the greenery, at least by us. We have a very stark contrast. I find it brings a lot of clarity into the world, wintertime. And anyway, so I want to get started with the topic today. First of all, I want to define what I mean by rough emotions, what I'm talking about when I say tragedy. It doesn't have to necessarily be tragedy, but let's just say rough emotions. Hello, Liba. Nice of you to join us. So just to put a framework here, rough emotions are any emotion that can come up, whether it's sadness, grief, loneliness, a hard challenge that comes up, trauma, shock, real tragedy, whether it's something that's happening to us now or something that's coming up from our past. It's the same. We deal with it the same way in terms of the discussion we're going to have here. So this doesn't need to be something that's happening to you right now. It could be something that you're re-experiencing from the past. So when we experience these rough emotions, when we come across them, a lot of us tend to have a knee-jerk reaction of protection. And what that means, you saw what my hands automatically did. We cover up our heart. We either close up our heart or put a layer of armor, put a chink of armor on it. And both of those things, whether we close up in order to protect ourselves from the harsh emotions or whether we put on a chink of armor, we are weighing down our energy. As someone who studied anatomy multiple times as a physical therapist, the anatomy of the heart, to me, is more than the biological organ that you can feel and touch. The biological organ, right, the heart with the 4 chambers that beats inside of us, I see that physiologically. The physiological organ is the life force of a human being, of the physiological body. It is the pumping mechanism that is continually reoxygenating our blood, sending our blood to our lungs to reoxygenate it, and then bring the blood back into our hearts to send it out to our whole body. And that is our life force, the reoxygenation continually and continually of our body, of our organs, of our brain, of everything else that's going on is being kept at its life force level by the beating of our heart. The same goes for the emotional side of our heart, right? There's the heart that is the 4 chambers and this thing that we can touch and feel physiologically. It's sitting there beating. And then there's what we all picture as the picture of a heart. And that heart is our emotional life force. And it is when it's open and at its highest energy and it's fully oxygenated, so to speak, when it's allowed to do what it's meant to do, then it is the life force of our emotional being, of our energetic being. And it gives us the ability to spread energy and love and light throughout our body. And that is as important as the physiological side of this organ. So very much a holistic picture here of this magical organ of the heart. And so the same goes for if there's a physiological lack of balance, something that's causing strain on the physiological heart, it's not going to be able to spread the life force, the oxygenated blood into the body fully. So too, if we compromise the life force of the emotional heart, we'll have the same situation. Hi, Georgina. Glad that you're here with us. So the life force, that emotional life force, the physiological life force, both are at their best when they are unfettered. And so that's what I want to talk about today, because I want us to get out of our usually conditioned situation of closing up when we hear about trauma, feeling that it's too much and just hardening up. Sometimes it looks like callousness. Oh, I can't handle that anymore. Oh, this world is such a terrible place. Oh, there's so many terrible things going on. And it's like this callousness to this hardness of, oh, life is just too hard and too miserable and, pushing it all aside. And then there's the other reaction, which is we feel so torn up and so cut up inside that we feel like we just can't deal with it all, and so we shove it down. And either way, we are just not dealing with the emotions, whether it's because we're putting that callus over our heart or because we're shoving the emotions away. Both are pushing down our life force, are pushing down our energy, and what the result will be is less light, less love, less flow inside our body. There'll be this stuckness in our body because we're just shoving this energy or pushing it away, and our bodies then are trying to compensate around those blocks that we're placing for ourselves. So what do we want to do? What is the goal? And that's what we want to talk about here. We want to talk about how we are able to change that knee-jerk reaction of closing up and open ourselves up to the world. Now, that may sound like painful, and why would that be better? Isn't it better to just take it in slow doses? Isn't it better to just, shut ourselves away from some of it? But that's not how we're meant to be. And it may sound counterintuitive to open up our hearts, but that's what the color pink and the essences that we're going to talk about today are going to help us understand. So let's start with the color pink. Okay, we're talking about this color pink, this light baby pink, this color pink, a very soothing, what we associate with a heart. You can type in, for those of us who are here with us, you can type in what your association with this color pink is. What comes up for you? For me, when I was thinking about it earlier, I think of babies, baby girls, lovely, cuddly baby girls. I think of hearts. I think of love. I think of bubble gum and cotton candy, things that make us smile and things that just make us feel good. And that's the color pink. It's a heart expander. It's about expansion, and it's not just heart expansion. It happens in our hearts. This color causes this expansion, unconditional love. Yes, Georgina, exactly. It's just this amazing feeling. And when we feel that amazing feeling, what do we feel like? We feel like our heart is bursting open. That's the energy that we get from this color. If we really sit and ruminate on this color, we're just going to, and have our associations with this color, it's just going to feel like, yes, pure love energy, exactly. And when we open up to that, when we allow our hearts to open and expand like that, we are able to experience life on a much higher level. So again, this sounds counterintuitive, but let's go through it. Okay, let's say we've had a trauma in our lives and it was too much for us to deal with, whether because we were young and didn't have the tools, or whether we were just in a place in our lives where the feelings were just too much for us to bear, or because we had to be there for other people while they were going through those emotions. Whatever the reason is that we pushed it aside, then at some point it's going to come back for us. Okay, so that was a coping mechanism, but at some point it's going to come back. And in the meantime, it's not that we've protected ourselves really. it's this illusion that we've protected ourselves. It's this illusion that we've saved ourselves from this heartache. We've pushed aside some of it, but really it's just sitting somewhere inside our body, waiting to express itself at some point later on in life. It never goes away. It just becomes part of like the static in the background. And so what we want to do is, and it's the same thing if something hits us now. There's a tragedy. I found out about a tragedy 3 weeks ago, terrible tragedy, with someone that I knew, and it was a compounded tragedy, and I don't want to get dark here, I don't want to get into heavy feelings, but the point is that when the feelings hit me, it was, shock and disbelief and beyond comprehension. And I allowed myself to feel all those feelings. I allowed myself to feel, and I feel it now, that ache and the wounds on the heart. But that's okay, because that means I'm processing it. I'm not pushing it away. I'm dealing with it. And I recognized right away that I wasn't going to be able to deal with it all at once. Sometimes it really is too much to bear. But I knew and I was aware that I was going to go through a process where this was going to hit me slowly. This was going to come to me and be something that I'm dealing with over time. And that's okay. I'm aware. I'm keeping my heart open. I'm allowing myself to feel the feelings. And there were days where I would just start crying. And it was me processing, and it was okay. And if my kids saw me, I explained, this is me being sad about. Oh, sorry, a phone call came in. I didn't think that could happen while I was on live stream. Anyway, we want to really just stay open, and the color pink helps us to do that. And there are essences here, and I'm going to talk more about why the process is proper to clear it out of our system. Like I said, otherwise there's this static in us. It's just like if someone's eating unhealthy foods and their body isn't processing the toxins and the waste out, then there's going to be some buildup in their bloodstream, let's say, and in their arteries. So we want to clean that out. We don't want that to stay in our system, because like I said, that stops the blood, that stops the heart from being able to to pump the life force, the blood through our system at its most efficient state. It's the same thing with emotions. If we keep them bottled up inside, if we put calluses on our heart, if we don't digest the emotions and process them properly, then they're just going to build up inside our body and decrease our life force of energy. So we just want to clear that out. I hope that's clear. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. If anyone is watching this on the replay, post your comments. I'll come back and look at it and try to get to answer them. Okay, the first essence that is a true heart opener is pink Gerber. Pink Gerber is a flower that in so many ways is opening of the heart. Pink is the color of the heart, not the heart chakra. The heart chakra color is actually green, but in color healing, pink is the color of the heart, of love, of healing heart wounds and keeping the heart open. And flowers such as pink Gerber and such as wild rose are very open flowers. You can see that their petals really open wide, and their insides are so open and vulnerable, and that's an open heart. That's what we want to be feeling all the time. We want to keep our heart unshackled. So here's the pink Gerber, and here's the wild rose. Okay, and these essences really help us just stay in that open place. Each of these essences are for opening the heart, but they all have slightly different nuances. I'm not going to go into that now, but if you feel a certain connection to a specific essence, then feel free to comment on it in the comments below, and I'll either respond during the live stream or I'll reply to your comments. This is holly. Now, I'll just comment on this one. When holly is described by Bach Essences, it's described as the essence to treat feelings of hatred or extreme anger, jealousy. And I always saw that as so negative. And then I started looking at the flower and forgetting what it says in the books. I was just looking Oh, hold on one second, Miriam. Yes, that's also a good one. Just hold on one second. Let me finish about the holly. The holly is, if you look at her, just look at her petals. I mean, she's so vulnerable and sweet, and her petals are actually quite thick for such a small flower, but they're white and tinged with pink. And when they're closed, I'll look for the picture of the closed holly in a minute. When they're closed, they really seem to be like a nut, protecting the heart. So when someone is keeping their heart closed, they can feel this extreme hatred, anger building up. But if you open up your heart and you allow those feelings to just be processed, you move into love, then you're not going to feel those feelings anymore, because when you're standing in love, you're standing in light. And when you're standing in light, those feelings just go away, because you realize that everything is from God and everything has a purpose and everything is just love. And you hated someone for something that they did, but then you realized that they're human just like you are, and you've done things to hurt other people, and you would want forgiveness. You would want someone to open up their arms and accept you, even with your blemishes, and say, okay, that was a mistake. You acted like that, but I see your true being. I see your true heart. And that's what I feel like Holly's message is, that when we truly open up our hearts and we truly move into a heart space of love, then there is no hatred and anger. Yes, Miriam, they do look like they're blushing. That pink tinge to them, that's the vulnerability of an open heart, of being able to feel and process every emotion as we feel it. And the great thing, I've been talking about tragedy and about sadness and rough emotions, but the great thing about keeping an open heart is that then you get to feel all the great emotions, all the positive emotions of love and laughter and happiness and sharing good times. You feel that greater also. The celebration of life, all of that is also felt on a higher level. And that infuses your life with a greater life force, your body, your energy, your being with a greater life force. So, okay, I have a couple more here. Those are the real heart openers for people who really feel like they want to get into the space of processing emotions. I found my first experience with this was when I found out about a tragedy that had happened here to someone in our community. And we all took Rescue Remedy. And Rescue Remedy is really for processing grief, for processing trauma, for processing rough emotions in the moment, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever it is. One second, let me just shut my shade here. I feel like there's a real glow bouncing off here. Okay, I don't know if that made it much better, but I was actually taking Rescue Remedy in a cream at that time because that was part of an assignment in my flower essence course, and I had started taking it the day before I found out about this information, this tragic information, and I really felt that it helped me keep a healthy distance. It's not that I distanced myself in terms of a callous, in terms of not being able to process. It was actually a distance that allowed me to process the emotions, to feel what I was feeling, to watch my family feel what they were feeling, but without getting so deep into it that I couldn't process it. So it helped me keep that very healthy space of an open heart, of processing, of recognizing what was going on instead of just being overtaken with the shock and the tragedy of it. These heart openers, also so many of the essences that I've made here in Israel, Beit Roka Gardens essences that I've made here where I live, are pink. I've noticed that within the first 15 flowers, let's say, of the range that I've so far co-created with these flowers and plants and trees, is that probably roughly a quarter of them are pink or more. So I really feel that this is very connected with my own process. It's also very good, these essences, like I said before, when past traumas come up, for inner child work, which I've gone through a lot of in the past 2 years. These pink essences are great for that. But also in Israel, specifically, and I'm speaking to that because these essences were created here, and I really feel like they're great for the whole world, and I look forward to spreading them out. And I was so excited to send out our first shipment to the States last week. But in Israel, I feel like we have not PTSD, it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, it's OTSD, it's ongoing traumatic stress disorder. There is a continual level of trauma here, whether it's through the terror attacks, whether it's through war that we're going through or that we just went through, or that feel that we're about to go through, whether it's driving on the roads where we feel vulnerable, different situations that cause anxiety. 1 in every 3 or 4 people in this country are suffering from anxiety. And I see that represented in my family, and it's so important to keep a finger on the pulse, to check in with your family, check in with yourself, make sure that everyone's dealing well, get people the proper treatment that they need for emotions that they're going through that might be hard for them to digest all at once, especially in children, but not just adults are going through this as well. So I just wanted to say that as a side, it's so important to just really stay on top of these things. So these essences are great for that. Rescue Remedy is great for that. The Roga Gardens Essence Rescue Remedy is the magenta rose, which brings balance and harmony. I see in my screen it looks red, but it's really a magenta color, beautiful balancing color. And this is the Beit Roga Gardens Rescue Remedy. Very much balances the whole system and the heart, and really opens up the heart to receiving unconditional love. And just important, and there's so much out there for us to tap into. And I'm not saying it has to be through the essences, although they're a great tool, but whatever calls to you, just to make sure that you're digesting the emotions that you're going through, or emotions that are coming up for you, with the tools that you have around you. Okay. Now, a couple of others that are also pink essences that I wanted to mention, because they're also heart openers in slightly different ways, but still heart openers. So this is magic. This grows wild here in Israel. It's also, I'm going to show you the picture of her in close-up. I hope you can see it. This is hanging behind my desk, as you can see. And her message is, as I call her, her name is not Magic, but I call her Magic. That is her essence. When you look at her, she is just so, she just brings magic to the world. She grows wild. If you can see in this picture, her branches, it's a bush, but her branches are her stems are very much entwined and chaotic looking and bare. It's not, like this lush green bush that flowers. It's a very chaotic, scanty looking, brumble of branches, of stems, but then these beautiful, delicate, small, they're like this small flower, comes up, and they're very delicate. I picked a few ones, and I saw that they opened, and they very hi Abby, thanks for joining. They very much offer their magic, but then they die very quickly. They're very, very delicate, but what they bring is, like their name, magic. For when someone is feeling like things are just dark, or that so much has gone on in their lives lately that's just jaded them. They're, like I mentioned before, the people who make the comments of, oh, this world is crazy, and, where is there order in this world? Everything's, so nuts, and so much craziness is going on. There's always magic in our lives. There is always magic to be seen. It's happening around us. Miracles and magic are happening around us all the time. And when we're in an open heart space, and we're in a happy, loving place, we're able to see it everywhere. And all the little things that we knew we had yesterday we just weren't aware at how magical they were. We'll start to see that when we take magic. And it's truly a powerful essence, and it's lovely, and you don't have to be in a bad mood to take it. I like to say, if there's that Eeyore cloud hanging over you, take magic and it'll go away. But even if not, it's just wonderful to take, to just bring that joy and love and color your life with pink. Okay, another beautiful one, and I never really thought of this essence as a heart opener before. And Georgina, I think you'll find this interesting. Impatience. Georgina, you're probably laughing right now. But when I went through the flower cards before I started this live stream, I just had to, she just called to me. And I'll tell you why it's funny. Because impatience is, like its name says, for the people who are impatient, for the people who want everything done and right now, or they know that something's coming, they know that something's going on with them, and they're going through a process, they want the results now. I see that you are laughing, Georgina. Yes. So how is impatience a heart opener? If it's here I'll tell you what what Bach describes as the person who should be taking impatience. They are very independent minded and they like to work alone. They want everything to get done right away. They usually have a lot of mental tension. So they just want it now. So how does opening the heart help people with impatience? What is it about the impatience what is it about being impatient that shows a closed heart? Basically, we are saying, I don't have tolerance. I don't want to be soft and be in a caring, gentle mode right now. I want this and I want it now, and I'm going to get it. And no matter what, whether I'm going to be in a bad mood or whether I'm going to, step on a few people, I'm just going to get what I want. And impatience just opens your heart to say, it's okay if it takes time. Everything comes in the right time. Just stay in a place that helps you be aware and recognize that everything is done exactly for you as it's meant to, as God plans it. And so therefore everything happens in its right time. So there's no point in being impatient. And if you take this essence, you will feel this quiet settling inside of, okay, your mind just stops thinking about it. It stops being your focus. When you're impatient, what you're trying to get to is very much your focus, and it just pushes things off even more because you're so impatient about it. You just feel you're not getting there. It feels like you're running in place. You're not getting there even faster, if that makes sense. It's going to take you that much longer to get to it. Yes, Georgina, everything is divine timing. And when we take this essence, we open up our hearts, we recognize that everything is divine timing, and we are able to sit with that. And very similarly, but coming from a different angle, is wild pink. Can you see that? Also very, very delicate flower growing here in Kochav HaShachar. Also, she has such bare stems. If you came across her bush without her flowering, you would think of it as I don't want to say ugly, but a not pretty, just bramble. Again, no leaves on it. Very, very thin and bare looking. And then at the very tip, it's like this kind of shape of stems. And then at the very tip, just at the very tip, are these very small flowers. And it's just shocking when you see them, how delicate and gentle they are. And they grow also out of rocks and in this dry, windy climate, and they're just poking out there, and it's beautiful. And their message is also, and I didn't see it this way before as a heart opener, but it's be in the present moment, and that also brings a very great feeling of peace. Anyone who's ever taken an essence or lived in, hold on, it says I'm on low battery, I just want to plug in. Anyone who's taken the practice of living in this moment of being grounded and present, and it's really incredible because you can think, oh, I'm grounded, I'm living in the moment. Excuse me one second. But then you take this essence and you realize, I really wasn't. Oh, sorry about that. Let me just plug this in. Okay. You realize that you weren't living in the present moment, that you're worried about what is coming to you. And you're worried about tomorrow, and you're fretting about what happened yesterday, and you're not really in the present moment. And this essence helps you be in the present moment right now. And that just gives you this amazing feeling of peace, and that God is giving you everything that you need right now to deal with what you have right now. And so again, when whatever emotions may come up in this moment, you're better equipped to deal with them because you're right now in this moment. If you're wasting 50% of your energies worrying about yesterday and fretting about tomorrow, you don't have the energies to deal with right now. And so this essence helps you deal with what you're going through right now, gives you your full life force for this moment. So that sums up the flowers that I wanted to discuss, and that brings everything into a full circle. How the color pink, keeping an open heart, help us digest the rough emotions, help us enjoy and appreciate more the positive emotions that come to us during the day. How being in the present moment, keeping an open heart is really what is best and healthiest for us to develop and live our life to the fullest. I love you all. Thank you all for joining or for listening to the replay. And again, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. Please put them below and I will answer them back. And here's to a great rest of your day. I hope that these essences have helped you open your heart today. And you can use this as your intention for tomorrow in your morning ritual to keep an open heart and see what comes your way. All right, sending lots of love. Have a good day.